And thank you for having me. I'm a replacement. How you doing, man? I'm a replacement. You know, I'm taking somebody else's place. I got called at the last minute to do this, but I do believe we can pull this off. Okay? How many of you work with offenders? So I got some questions coming through the room. You ready? Relative to this topic, what type of assistance do you need or insights would you like to gain? Okay. What about you?
Well, I'd like to know, once a person leaves the correctional system, how does he effectively reincorporate himself into his family unit with little or less stress as possible?
Okay. Who else? Go.
I'm wondering how we can reduce child abuse from offenders who were abused as children and now have children of their own. How can we reduce
Reduce child abuse by offenders who've also been abused. Okay? Ma'am.
How to let them know that how important the father is in their child's life.
Okay. Okay. Sir.
different strategies and how to deal with the different barriers that they're going to have when they come out. Connect that with trying to raise their child.
Give me an example of one of the barriers that you're thinking of.
Employment.
Employment? What else?
The anxiety.
Okay. And sir?
I was going to say the same.
The employment barriers?
Yeah, the criminal conviction has a barrier to employment.
Okay. Question for the group. This is for anybody in the room. How many of you were raised without a father? Okay? Okay? And that in itself has a significant impact. Even if it's not a father who has been incarcerated, being raised without your father is something else. Okay? Like what was mentioned earlier in today's presentation by Mr. Pitts. Okay? Just to know that your father is and has or will make the choice to spend time with you is important. Okay? One of the things that also takes place with a lot of our offenders is that they are also people who have not been with their fathers. Okay? So when you think about this, one of the things that's significant is for us to think about training-wise, developmental process, just to simply learn the role of a man within the house. Okay, like what is this guy's role in the house? Okay? Many of us have also kind of learned to be absentee fathers, to be distant, all right, to have questions about our role, our duties, and our responsibilities. Okay, I think sometimes, how many fathers I got in the room? Okay, I think sometimes, you know, like he mentioned, you got Mother's Day, which is one heck of a day, but then Father's Day is something else. Okay, you'll find that sometimes that the children have an alliance with the mother that they don't have with the father. And sometimes children have been known to have a meeting with their mother about their daddy. You follow? So there's a lot of different things that goes with this. As I start moving into the presentation, like one of the things that I have to understand, we all have to understand is this. The importance of family does matter. Okay, looking at this first presentation, first slide, the preservation and strengthening of family has a long-standing public policy. But then here's another piece that goes with this. How do you define family? Okay, because I look at certain words that we use clinically, therapeutically, okay, in conferences such as this. Like now we're using the word family, okay? Now when I think about family according to this definition, the socially acceptable definition, we're talking about the mother and the father that are in the home, all right? We're talking about mutual, positive regard for everybody there. There's a lot of respect, okay, to whereas the family works together as a unit. Sometimes I ask my clients a question, and here's the question that I ask my clients. I ask my clients, what is it that you receive from the streets that you do not receive from your family of origin? You understanding that? To whereas there's some things that I receive from the streets and I receive in my addictive or criminal world that I don't even receive in the home where I live. A lot of families, a lot of homes are not places where a person feels welcome or a person feels comfortable. All right, sometimes the family unit is more so of a survival unit as opposed to a cohesive family. Okay, over the years, okay, to whereas there has been a definite breakdown in family over the years with an abundance of substance abuse within our community. Am I right or wrong? All right, now you have criminalized families. Now you have families where you have children who are raised in a subculture of addiction and a subculture of criminal activity. Whereas when I was a kid, I'm 57 years old, anybody else in my age group that wants to admit it? Okay. Like when I was a kid, 57 years old, right? When my family members came by the house, they would parade me in front of my aunts, my uncles, grandparents, and they would say, show them how you can count. Show them how you know your ABCs. You follow? And they would say, isn't he smart? He's going to be a smart little kid. Now watch what took place. My age group, we are the first group of adolescent drug users in America. Now where you at? None of you? Now I'm all by myself, right? All right? Now we did it, and we had an altogether different parenting style. Am I right or wrong? All right, to whereas when we had children, our children, okay, were presented with something different. Like I was taught, I'm going to be home at 9 o'clock. When the street lights come on, I better be wandering my little behind towards the house. All right? If I ever saw somebody who was taller than me, your first name was automatically Mr. or Mrs. All right? I was raised to have respect for adults. When I was a kid, there were certain things that were kept away from the child. Even though they may be drinking, all right, they kept that away from us. All right, they didn't even really curse in front of us. All right, it was alarming to hear your mother use a curse word. Am I right or wrong? All right, you had a bath, and you were put to bed at a certain time. Now, when my crew came up, all right, us baby boomers, smoking weed, hippies and things like that, we had an altogether different parenting style. All right, we allowed our children to stay up later. All right, they did not have a lot of the structure that we had as children. And I never will forget this. Our children were exposed to drug use and drug addicts. Anybody remember this? All right, we were up late at night smoking weed and listening to the Gap Band while the kid is trying to go to sleep. You follow? The respect and the focus on what a child needed, we became very selfish, and we got away from that. All right? Now, when I look at certain things today, all right, I can find guys my age, 50 years old, wearing hip-hop gear. Am I right or wrong? A lot of us know individuals who still live in their parents' basement and have waited for their mother and father to die so they can get the house and tear it up. Am I right or wrong? You follow? So I have to, when I look at this word family, I have to understand that as time has gone on over the years, what family represents today as opposed to what it used to, it has changed. All right? Now, how many of you guys in this room are married? Okay? Will you be expecting a meal cooked when you get home? That ain't happening? Huh? Didn't that used to happen? You follow? See, the male and female role has changed. All right? Women don't need us the way they used to. They used to be dependent on us for certain things, and that's why you had some marriages that lasted 50 and 60 years, because she was stuck with the guy. Because he was making all the money. But over the years now, we've had more children out of quote-unquote wedlock. All right, certain values that we had back in the day, we don't have today. It used to be a thing where if you got somebody pregnant, there was a meeting. It was an automatic meeting, right, between the two families. They would join, and the young man would be told, you know, where you going to work tomorrow, right? You're going to stay here for a little while until y'all get y'all own place. There was a meeting that took place, right? Even to birth a child was a happy occasion. Do y'all remember that? Whereas when a woman became pregnant, all the ladies would get together and they would be so happy. So-and-so pregnant. All right, we're going to have a baby shower. They would all come over. But now, since we can have abortions and whatnot, now there's a new question. When you become pregnant, I know you're not going to have his baby, right? Because now having this baby, right, influences or affects your future and the things you can do. You follow? So the first thing up when we talk about this issue is how have we begun to devalue family over the years, all right, to devalue our children over the years. You follow? And you have to sit back and look at that, all right? What has happened to the family? What has happened to my role within the family, okay, over the last 40 years, okay? It also says here that the family has been seen as a social investment, and there are many efforts across this country to aid in preserving the family. All right? What'd you say? No? You don't even want to talk about that, right? Follow? Some things are said verbally. Some things are placed in print. But when I look at the reality and the truth of it, it doesn't appear that way. All right? As if we are really into preserving the family. All right? Like one thing that was not mentioned. It was not mentioned this morning, but I'm going to bring it up now. All right? One of the things that we have to do male-wise, now this is male-wise, is that we have to respect women in a different way. All right? Because we don't respect them. Am I right or wrong? All right? Because, see, years ago, if I kissed you, I had to say, right after the kiss, I love you. You mine. Am I right or wrong? Am I right or wrong? See, years ago, we used to write poetry to the women. We used to sing them songs. Am I right or wrong? Where's my age group at? Right, we used to sing songs, write poetry, bought necklaces. You know, that little Valentine's Day candy, we would make up a sentence. Am I right or wrong? We were taught to love and respect women. All right, we were taught that. Okay, but over the years, now it's the thing to where they came out with a song called Back That Ass Up, right? And now it's like you want to be sadomasochistic in the sexual relationship. Am I right or wrong? Right, whereas if you ain't spanking me and pulling my hair and calling me all kind of foul names, you ain't doing this right. Am I right or wrong? All right? So see, you got to look at how we've degraded every element relative to family, to love, to child rearing, and it's filtered all over into our communities. Okay, now we're getting to a point to whereas I guess people are somewhat tired of it, all right, and sick of it because now we have another burden, all right? The 90s, what we saw in the 90s was that we saw a lot of our youth from the community go to prison. Am I right or wrong? See, I heard some catchy phrases from 1985 through 1990. I used to attend conferences and things, and there was these catchy phrases going around. And at this time, the catchy phrase was, "It takes a village to raise a child." Right? And I'm sitting in the audience, and I'm saying to myself, these suckers must have no idea what's happening in the village. You follow? They don't know what's happening in the village. Because, see, sometimes we speak of these issues and we are detached from the reality of this issue. We speak of these issues in their most ideal form, like what we should do, and family is this and family is that. All right? But we have families now that are in bad shape. All right? And our community is a testimonial of what's happening in the family. All right, because see, it starts with the individual, right? Starts with the individual. It moves to the family. Then it moves to the community. Then it moves to the nation. You follow? So a thing has got to happen where you bring self-respect and dignity back to the self. Back to the self. All right? Another thing that has to take place as you're working with this issue and concern, okay? Now, look at these challenges, and I'll get to my point in a minute. What is now challenging this attitude is the United States correctional population that numbers over 2 million persons and is growing. All right? Detroit. This used to be home of the big three, right? Chrysler, General Motors, and Ford. And it was known that when you graduated from high school, you were going to one of those three places for work. Okay? Now, what happened was, over the years, with our drug usage, all right, we began to use some of those decisions that were made by the unions as it relates to sick time and going on medical, all right? I would go on sick leave, or I would go on a medical. And the medical and being on sick leave was for the sole purpose of giving me more time to use dope and save my job, right? But economically, and you can't fault them for this, General Motors, Ford, and Chrysler said, wait a minute. We're going to close these plants here, and we'll take them to Tennessee. You follow? We're not going to build a new plant up here. We'll take it to Ohio. So then the big three in Detroit, Michigan changed. We went from Ford, General Motors, and Chrysler's to YBI, the Chambers, and the Currys. Am I right or wrong? So then our economy changed. All right? We went from the auto industry to a drug industry, to whereas now my work ethic has been changed and transferred to a hustler's ethic. Am I right or wrong? You follow? To whereas I was taught cut the grass, get a newspaper out, sell sunflower seeds. All right? Now everybody wants to be a player and a gangster. And there are some incarcerated individuals now, because I've worked inside prisons, to whereas now you have incarcerated families. And now you have families who are co-defendants. To whereas I've been inside prisons to whereas the young man tells me that his uncle is inside and his aunt or his mother is incarcerated somewhere else. Now you got a problem, all right? Here's your problem. Therapy has a value system that exceeds the value system of our clients. So when we begin to talk about morals and values and family and things like that, you follow? They don't hear it the same way that we're saying it. Their relationship style is different. Their mating style is different. Like I found out about their mating style from being on break in my office. I was on break in my office and I had a television set and I had the opportunity to see the Jerry Springer show. You follow? And as I was watching the dynamics on the Jerry Springer show, I said to myself, I said, damn, my clients talk like that. Those are the kind of relationships they are having. All right? So another thing that you have to understand, all right, and I call it BC, right? Before crack. All right? The crack epidemic definitely turned everything upside down. Okay, it turned everything upside down. And nobody was prepared for what came with crack use. Even those of us in the therapeutic community. Do I have any substance abuse counselors in the room who are BC? Right? Because see, before, I had an alcoholic, I had a heroin user, and they would say, well, I got drunk, ran into a tree, had a blackout, nodding off, I burned the couch. I understood that. But the crack addict came into the office describing some things that we had never heard before. Am I right or wrong? And we said, oh my God, you need to see a psychiatrist. And right after that, a lot of co-occurring disorders came up. The economy got bad. Now you got a lot of families who are homeless. All right? You're talking about employment. You have now a law, discrimination. It's true discrimination, whoever brought that up, right? Whereas if you're an ex-offender, we don't have to hire you. All right? So there's some truths that go with the circumstances that the person is involved in. But what I call that, you call them barriers, right, sir? You call them a barrier, right? Those are challenges. And those are adversities that they must be able to challenge and confront because it goes with the choices that they made. Like all of us in this room possess an excuse if we wanted to use it. You know, like I'm black, I could really ride with that one, right? I don't have a father, I could go miles with that one, all right? I'm also a welfare kid. See, I'm black, a welfare kid, and I don't have a father. And I'm also a recovering alcoholic and drug addict, right? That makes me automatic victim. One thing I tell all my guys from prison, whatever you do not come home with an ex-felon's mentality. Because when you come home viewing yourself as an ex-felon, your attitude towards who you are is the most crippling thing there is. All right? That has to be challenged. Because, see, if I was to look at myself as just primarily a black man, I would have never went to school and got a master's degree. Because the belief system and what goes with the definition of me as a black man says, I can't live certain places. Am I right? School is for white folks. Am I right? See, there's a certain belief system that's reinforced by your circumstances that needs to be challenged. All right? And it is a defeatist mentality. Now, sometimes counselor can reinforce that defeatist attitude. All right? Because sometimes we as in the therapeutic community, we feel as hopeless in helping our clients as our clients feel in being able to change themselves. Am I right or wrong? All right, because see now, it used to be a time to where you had a client that came to you in your office with a problem. They had one problem, right? Alcohol, drugs, need a place to stay. Now you have clients that come to your office with multiple problems, and it's very difficult for us as therapists sometimes to figure out what is the primary problem or what is the presenting problem. Now, am I right or am I wrong? All right, see, sometimes therapeutically, we are overwhelmed at the situations and the circumstances that our clients present, okay? They present with multiple issues that sometimes overwhelm us. What I have to do, what you have to do, clinically speaking, is that I have to begin to identify and prioritize the issues that the client has. By all means, write that down. Okay? I have to prioritize the issues and then pace the therapy for accomplishment of them. Okay, I have to pace them for that. Okay, like what issue that they present can most readily be accomplished. We deal with that one first. Then we move on. Okay, because what happens is that they get scattered. And they see, I just got home from jail, I don't have any money, I don't have no place to live, my kids don't want to talk to me. Well, they shouldn't want to talk to you. You follow? There's a certain truth that go with why your children don't want to speak to you. All right? I don't know you, number one. I don't know you. When you went to jail, I was 3 years old. When you come home, I'm 13. All right? Sure, they've told me that you're my father. All right, and I believe this, and I've had some interaction with you on the telephone through letters and in the visiting room at the prison when I come to visit you, right? But guess what this kid knows nothing about? I've never seen you in my house. You follow? I've never seen a man in my house. All right, and then when you do come home, then you join with my mother, your wife, or your woman. You see, I've never seen this before. Now you are an emotional competitor of mine. I'm the child. But dig this, you the father. And from the father to the child is also an emotional competitor with the mother. So me and the child are competing emotionally with the same person. But since I'm the oldest one, with the authority, I dominate. How? Abusively. Get out of here and do what I told you to do. What's wrong with these kids? We come home hostile, right? But never taking into account what impact, and this needs to be explored. Jot this one down. It needs to be explored what impact does the incarceration have on the emotional state of the family. Okay? Because you have to know your history. As an offender and a drug addict, I have trained my family not to trust me. I have trained my family through my behavior that I am a very inconsistent and irresponsible person. Am I right or wrong? I've trained them that way. So when I come home from prison and I don't receive the reception that I think I should, well, it's warranted. All right? I wouldn't be glad to see nobody that stole everything out the damn house. Would you? I wouldn't be glad to see the guy that used to beat my mother up. You follow? I wouldn't be happy to see this person. And if this person came home and I'm the kid, I would be afraid and have some anxiety because I saw what you did to my mother the last time you was here. And I can't wait to turn 13 years old because I'm going to jump on you next time. Do anybody in here know what I'm talking about? You follow? Now, if you know what I'm talking about, though, is it discussed therapeutically? Because, see, these are some realities. See, this is what I mean. Sometimes we discuss the issues ideally. We discuss the issues in a very politically correct format. All right? Some of our clients have family members that it's okay that you're home, but we don't want to see you. Am I right or wrong? All right? We don't want to see you because of what you've done before. All right? So there's a healing process that takes place within the family. And sometimes the family may choose and say, we don't want you back. All right? We don't want you back. And that goes with it. All right? That goes with a choice that the family may choose to make. Also here, there's an increase in cost of maintaining large numbers of children in foster care and providing welfare assistance to financially challenged women with children. All right? The war on drugs is currently being reevaluated as it has had a far-reaching impact beyond those imprisoned. All right? Now we can see the impact of the war on drugs everywhere. All right? And then remember the elephant story that he told this morning? Y'all guys remember the elephant story? I was listening very intent to the elephant story. all right, about the adolescent elephants, all right? And then you look at our school system, and you look at our communities, right? And if I'm a parent, if I'm the parent, I'm going to give you some more top secret information in a minute. If I'm the parent and I'm more preoccupied with immediate gratification as opposed to my parental responsibilities, all right, what I have shown to my child is indifference. Indifference. Okay? My child has learned from me, the parent, that I really don't care about what you do. As long as what you do does not interfere with what I'm doing, you can do whatever you want to do. All right? So the child has learned indifference, that nobody cares. All right? Who gives a damn about me? All right? And guess what else that child does not learn? And I'm sure many of you are starting to witness this now. Anybody work with adolescents? All right? You're starting to notice that they possess a certain apathy. Am I right or wrong? All right? You're starting to notice that they do not really pay attention to the consequences of the activity. You follow? Because what they are learning, that their new thing is, let's see who it is among us that can not value the most things, because they have nothing to value. Okay? They have not learned it. All right? They have not learned to value their environment, to value their relationship with their elders. Okay? To value their community. All right? Many of us in this room, here's some more top secret information. You ready? I don't come from the hood. I don't know nothing about the hood. I come from the black community. Y'all getting this? See, and there's some things that are done in the hood that would have never been done in the black community. Am I right or wrong? You follow? So now you got this thing called the hood, okay, where anything goes. So how do you bring back the values that the community needs? Now, here's what you have to do with your clients also. Okay, as we talked about earlier, the impact of my behavior now has far-reaching effects. I have to understand that there are some things that I did. Now, we're talking about responsibility and being accountable. There are some things that I have done that have made the community the way it is. There are some things that I have done that have made the school system the way it is. There are some things that I have done that has made women respond to me, a male, the way they do. Am I right, Kevin? All right. Question for you is, since the answer was absolutely, right? Absolutely. What would those things be? See, what is it that I did to impact my family this way, to impact my child this way, to impact the community this way, to have the female respond to me this way? You follow? What is it that I did? Man. Don't give me the therapeutic stuff. That's cheating. Sir. Neglect. Neglect. You follow? So see, that becomes a thing that I have to work on. Not being selfish. You know, stop neglecting. There was a man who was at my lecture the other night. He now has his a family member's daughter. I think it was his sister's daughter. She died. So he got the daughter. He's in recovery. He's having problems with her. She's 16, smoking weed, talking back to him, right? And I knew something. So I asked him a question. I said, how many meetings do you go to a week? He said, I go to a meeting every day. Two, 3 hours a day, he leaves to go to a meeting. I said, do you sponsor anybody? He said, yes, I have sponsees. How much time do you spend with them a week? At least 15 hours. on the phone and in person, right? So I said, well, how much time do you spend with the little girl? You see what I mean? Time is a factor. Just to be there. All right, that's one of those strategies, to learn how to be there without buying something. All right, and then how many of you have children at home? They did a study. A study was done. You can spend all day with your child and only communicate for a good 20 minutes worth of actual dialogue. Because what we say to them is stuff like, where you going? Where you been? What did I tell you to do? Stay out of there. I told you not to go. It don't take long to say that. Right? But if that's all you doing all day long to me is admonishing me for just moving around the house. That's all I did. I just walked by the bathroom. And you tripped. Right? That's all I did. Right? When I come home, you holler at me. All I did was come to my place of residence where you happen to be. Mom and Dad. Right? But the moment you guys see me, you hollering at me. Am I right or wrong? Where you been? What did I tell you to do? How come you didn't do this? Not, hello, honey. How you doing? How was your day? You follow? Now watch this. Counselors. Y'all counselors, right? A lot of you. We treat our clients better than our own family members. See, I have an hour session with my client, but I don't have an hour session with my son. And I schedule my client in. See me next week at 2 o'clock. But I don't tell my son or my daughter, I'm going to see you next week at 2 o'clock and we're going to talk some more. Or go for a walk or go to a restaurant or something like that. Do I? Am I right or wrong? Then guess what else I do? How many of you guys have more than one child? Right? You a counselor? What about you? You a counselor? Where's a counselor with more than one child? You and you. Do you do groups?
Yes.
With your clients?
Yes.
How many times a week?
Twice.
Twice a week? How many hours?
2 hours.
2 hours. When's the last time you did group with your kids?
Michael, I did yours before. I do group with my kids.
Oh, okay. Well, don't you do that again in here. Next time you act like you never met me before. All right, but see, that's something for us to consider also. Because even though this focus may be on an incarcerated individual, I personally may be guilty of the same dynamics myself. Okay? And I could be, as the therapist, within my own family system, creating the next alcoholic drug addict or incarcerated person. You see what I mean? So when you look at what we're doing, see, sometimes, Kevin, what happens is that when you put on your clinical hat, you now have tunnel vision, and you leave everything out, right? You act like you don't know. Like a lot of counselors tickle me. They act like they don't know what weed looks like. Never smelled it. Right? No, you know no one who's ever used it. And you have no relationships with hoodlums and crooks whatsoever. Right? And you just sanitize your life, and you come to work, and you just simply sit there in your counselor's posture. You know, what's going on with you today? You follow? Why don't you act like you know the world your client comes from? Because you've been there too. You see, you've been there too. When it comes to parenting, I was 13. I was 13. I was 8. Right? And I remember things at 8 years old. How many of you guys skipped school at 8? How many of y'all stole money out your mother's purse? You follow? Now these are realities and truths, but as counselors, therapists, sometimes I don't deal with realities and truths. I deal with theory. Nothing but theory. And you got to start bringing reality and truth back into your counseling. All right, because a lot of times that's what's missing. And that's why a client does not like talking to you. All right, because I can't be personal. You want to talk about the theory, but you don't want to talk about me. You see what I mean? So sometimes the problem is me, the counselor, and my approach. Okay? On another look, concerns about intergenerational crime and children at risk is placing this issue in the forefront. We already know that. All right, there's a, write this down. There is an article on the internet called 2 Lost Generations of Black Youth. All right, where because 2 lost generations of black youth. Very interesting article. But it talks about how we have lost in our community, maybe possibly, 2 complete generations. All right? To whereas they will be drug addicts, alcoholics, incarcerated. You follow? And this cycle has to be broken. All right? It has to be broken. Okay? One of the things that you have to struggle for as counselors, you have to struggle to find something that your client values and believes in. All right? Something that they value and something that they believe in. All right? To whereas the rites of passage in our communities sometimes is that you die, that you become a drug addict, or that you become incarcerated. That's a community expectation. You follow? So if that happens to me, guess what? It's not a consequence, it is an expectation. Okay? But if I value you as my son or my daughter, and I don't want you in the same predicament as me, then I'll begin to fight for you again. All right? See, I have certain challenges with my clients, right? Like on the streets with guys, there's this thing about, this is my man. Y'all hip to the expression? It's my man. All right? You my wife. That's my son. That's my daughter. But this is my man. Am I right? So this relationship takes a priority over these relationships. Am I right or wrong? To whereas this guy can come to my home while I'm busy being her wife, her husband, and I'm being y'all's father. But if he decides that I don't want you to be her husband and your father at 5 o'clock in the morning, you follow? He has the power and permission to sever this relationship. Am I right or wrong? And it's been known that some husbands have become violent and abusive towards their wife and their children based on what they said about my man. Am I right or wrong? See, because the woman sees when she heard his voice on the phone, the first day she heard his voice on the phone, she asked you a question. Who was that? I don't like him. What you mean you ain't never met him? I don't have to. She already knew that this guy was a threat to the family's security. Am I right? And you guys ever been through that? But we will honor my man before I honor my wife. Right? Here's something else a guy got to get with. You got to learn to trust the intuitive nature of a woman. Don't ask me how they do it. Don't ask me how they do it. But after a while, they just know things. Am I right or wrong? That's why you can't hide nothing. All of you guys have tried to hide stuff, right? In some kind of way, they found it. Yep. You follow? You see what I mean? So again, I've got to honor these relationships and go back and look at things, right? Now, in child abuse, compared to living with both parents, living in a single-parent home doubles the risk of that of a child will suffer physical, emotional, or educational neglect. Okay? Again, I'm going to use this word, indifference. We act like sometimes we don't care. All right? You really have to now start thinking about valuing our youth and how important they are to us. Okay? Overall rate of child abuse and neglect in a single-parent house is 27.3 children per 1,000, whereas the rate of maltreatment in two-parent homes is 15.5 per 1,000. Okay, you got to think about certain things, okay? These are some more stats on those areas, okay? But then my question to you is this. When you look at these statistics, what is it that you don't see? Because see, I always have to read between the lines, all right? Because I have to think about anger. I have to think about anger. There's one thing that is very difficult for a guy, to be unemployed and to have a family. Am I right? All right, here goes some more top secret information. This is a guy thing. All you guys who can identify with this, give me an amen. All right, hold on. I ain't said it yet. Every now and then, we look at our wife, at our mate, or our children. They don't know we looking at them. They don't know we looking at them. But every now and then we look. And we are overcome with a certain sadness. A sadness. Sometimes we feel like we cheating y'all. Like y'all deserve better. See them amens? You follow? And that's a male grief thing that's never spoken about. We don't speak about it. So sometimes you'll ask me, what's wrong with you? Nothing. I'm all right. Right? Ain't nothing wrong. Because I'm afraid, as a man, to show my soft side because I have a fear that if I do, you'll think I'm a punk. Or it's non-masculine to have emotions. All right? But I got another curiosity. All right? You ready for this? I don't understand something. If I can make love to you, right, just completely disrobe, and then go to sleep with you, but I don't trust you to tell you what's on my heart. But I trust you enough to close my eyes in the night. Right? Now, if you want to do something to me, wait till I go to sleep. But I'm more afraid of my woman awake than asleep. What's that all about? Sir? Huh? You got to figure out the answer to that question. But the answer to the question is intimacy with self. A lot of guys do not learn how to be intimate with themselves. Women learn how to do it. And women do it. Women talk about everything. Am I right? Everything. Because they're having a relationship. Guys don't do that. And that's something we have to learn how to do. All right? I have to learn how to do that. Okay? Also moving. Some more fatherhood facts. Okay? And these are just some more statistics that I look at. All right? But these things here you use as the fuel, as the motivation, all right, to motivate that client of yours to be more responsible towards what it is they need to do in that home and their role in that home, okay? Also here, more than 1/3 of the nation's children live without their biological fathers. All right, like I had a guy on my caseload that was 25 years of age. And when I was doing his social history, we got to how many children do you have? He said 9. All right, but I heard it as if he was 40-something years old. But he was only 25. And then I caught wind of what he had said to me. I said, wait a minute, man. How old were you when you started having kids? Because, see, I'm also thinking these children were had in 9-month periods. He said, no. He had 5 people pregnant at one time. You follow? At one time. All right? No, not a bad man, stupid man, right? Right? And you got to watch the way that like we kind of reinforce stupidity because we do it, okay? Because see, now you got a set of kids in the neighborhood. They might be in the same neighborhood, going to the same schools. And they don't know that they're siblings. And they could date or possibly marry. You see what I mean? And they don't know that that's my sister. Sir.
I just want to make a comment. You know, the U.S. statistics are fine, except what's missing oftentimes are the local statistics.
Yeah.
You can add 25% easy to Wayne or Detroit.
Definitely. Definitely. Okay? That's why you heard me say one time, read between the lines on the stats. Okay? Because these are national stats as opposed to local stats. Okay? Also here, my strategies. And you need to work on this one. You too need to work on this, creating strategies. Communication between prisoners and their families provides the most concrete and visible strategy that families and prisoners may use to manage separation and maintain connections. Okay. Okay. But sometimes my families are criminal networks. Okay, and that's true. All right? Sometimes my inmate, all right, my inmate is manipulating the family for further criminal activity. Sometimes. Sometimes my inmate is very selfish and not thinking or considering what's going on in the family. Just take care of me. Sometimes I ask women a question. All right? And this goes with the men too. All right? When a woman takes me as her man, does she really get a man or does she get a stepchild? A foster kid. You follow? Because, see, some of us men are going into relationships with women trying to get some of our unmet childhood needs taken care of. Am I right or wrong? All right? So, see, you have to, like, go deep with this thing and go into, like, your maleness. Your maleness for real. All right? And can you honor yourself, honor your mate, and you can honor your child. Okay? Also here, these institutional visits, phone conversations, letters, exchanging of cards, all this is good. All right? It maintains the contact. But one of the things that I did earlier when I was talking about this guy right here as my man, remember? All right, sometimes the bond with this guy is stronger than my bond to my family or my children. All right? And then there's the other woman. We can't forget her. Am I right? Because, see, I asked my guys another question, right? What's the difference in your woman and the hoe around the corner? You follow? Oh, I asked them that question. All right, I asked that question. All right? Because your woman will demand that you respect her. All right? She will also make it a point that you taking care of. The hoe around the corner don't really care. All right? Because she getting out of you what she wants to get out of you. You follow? But she's allowing you to do something that your woman will not allow. For you to be irresponsible and disrespectful in this house. You see what I mean? So you also have to do something else. Write this down. You have to also measure what are the rewards associated with this quote-unquote deviant behavior. All right? Because there's some gains there. And as long as that person receives a reward some kind of way from a dysfunctional or deviant activity, they are going to engage in it. I don't care what it is, okay? I don't care what that is, okay? This piece down here, all right, there are pros and cons to the emotional attachment that needs to be explored and addressed as to how some persons handle grief and issues of separation. All right? Issues of grief and separation. Now, one of the things that all incarcerated persons suffer from, every last one of them suffer from this, is a thing called time loss. Time loss. All right? While you are incarcerated, there's a block of time where you may feel certain things were supposed to happen, but due to your incarceration, they didn't. All right? They didn't. All incarcerated persons suffer from time loss. And there's something else that they have to work with. They have to work with it because it's another truth. There's some things that based on drug addiction and incarceration, they will never witness in their life. All right? Some guys will never see their child take that first step. That's gone. That's gone. They will never see them get on the school bus. First day of kindergarten, they won't see that. Christmases and things, that's gone. All right? That's a grief loss issue. But sometimes it's used as an excuse for further abandonment. All right? Sometimes there's a lot of anger and grief. Anger goes with grief also, right? But then it may be displaced. It's displaced. All right? Sometimes my family doesn't understand me because my family is also working with the challenges of being with me. All right? Sometimes the family cannot hear those pleas. All right? Because the offender does not hear what the family is trying to say. So they are at an emotional stalemate sometimes. Yes, ma'am?
I know he just gave me a piece of paper, but I already had a question formulated.
What you got?
Time loss, not only for the returning person, what about with the family?
Yes. Yes.
They have the time loss too.
So you got to look at the complete system. The family and the offender, the family and the drug addict have similar experiences based on that criminal activity or that drug use. And they both need to be honored. Sometimes we will honor only the one that presents in our office. You know, see, I get paid to see the offender. I don't get paid to see the family. So I get paid to have compassion for the offender's issues. But I don't get paid to have compassion for the family's issues. I can't bill that. So if I can't bill it, I don't feel nothing. Am I right or wrong? You see, because see, that also factors into this. Like if I get paid for a service, I have compassion. If I don't get paid for this, you got to go somewhere else. Sorry, we can't service you. Right? And then you better believe, if not me, the front office is monitoring when your last visit is. It has nothing to do with the treatment plan or progress on the treatment plan at all. Am I right or wrong? But if they say, hey, he got one more visit, y'all better wrap this up. True or false? See, so then if I'm the receiver of this service and I get a suspicion that y'all just in it for the money, y'all getting paid, then there's only so much real therapeutic work I'm going to do with you anyway. You follow? Because, see, a lot of offenders in the system, all right, they feel that they are being exploited from the front end to the back. And everybody is getting money. All right, so the therapeutic investment that you want from me, you're not getting it. And then there's something else about our relationship. right? You have an ink pen, right? And a relationship with my PO, a person who could possibly violate me. Now, what do you want to talk about today? Right? I'm looking for a job. Right? I'm going to church. Right? That's all we're going to talk about. Me looking for a job and me going to church. Right? And I'm going to try and enroll to school. You see what I mean? I'm going to make this conversation between you and I clean, squeaky clean. Because you have a relationship with my PO that could potentially send me back to jail. All right? So guess what? My relationship with you is nothing but a script. Just like you have a staff meeting about me, well, me and my buddies are having a staff meeting about you. You haven't met me. I was in my client role with you. Because when I go outside on break and smoke a cigarette, I tell my buddies, man, I'm so tired of talking to that fool, I don't know what to do. Right or wrong? Right? I'm tired of going to group. Am I right or wrong? You follow? So see, I have to know the world of the client, what's on their mind, because see, when I come in my therapeutic posture, I'm posturing as a therapist. They're posturing as a client. All right, so what feelings you want to talk about today? You want to talk about some feelings? I'm angry. I'm bored today. I have been looking for a job, but I don't have transportation, so can you help me out? Right? And since I brought that up, you got to know this too. A lot of times, your agency, whatever agency you work, your agency is in a link with another agency that has priority over your agency. All right, now I need to come see you as part of my relationship with this agency over here. Now what's happening over here is more important to me than what's happening over here with you. And this drug counseling you want to do, this PO over here, right? So PO say, go see you. Here I am. And if I see you, I don't go to jail. Cool. That's all I got to do is come see you and do the group, watch the movies. We can do this. Keeps me out of jail, right? Or once I get to you, I find out that if I see you, then you might give me a referral somewhere else. Get a car, right? Some clothes. Am I right or wrong? So you also have to know where you at and how you might be used or useful for further criminal pursuits. Because I can work this relationship. You know, if all you want to know is, what did I do today? I'll tell you, right? And then when I leave you, I'm going to get my man. And since I got dropped in your office, we ain't gonna sell. We ain't gonna use it. We just gonna sell it. Am I right or wrong? You follow? So you have to know the client. All right? Go beyond the theory. Go beyond the therapeutic ideology. Okay? Because see, sometimes that's the barrier to therapy. It's the therapist. Okay? It's the therapist. Questions?
Incarcerated fathers make a lot of promises while incarcerated, but cannot fulfill them once released. How do the family make this transition or address this issue?
Well, here's what happens with that. The family can become gullible. You know, and sometimes families, you know, when you have an incarcerated family member, okay, some families hate that I'm the only resource you got. I wish you did have another resource outside of me. All right? Some families agree for the offender to live with them or some other kind of request. They'll honor it based on blood, we related, and they feel obligated to do so. Okay? Some families know the hardships of reentry, and they don't want to feel that they've abandoned a family member in need. All right? But they need to set some guidelines and boundaries. If they agree to whatever the appeal is, they need to set some guidelines and boundaries. Okay, you can live here, but A, B, and C is not going to happen. If it does, you got to go. And they have to hold to it. All right, they have to hold to it, okay? But those are some of the factors involved in that one.
Looking back, how do we realize what effect our father's absence had?
Beg your pardon?
Looking back, sorry, I'm having mic issues. Looking back, how do we realize what effect our father's absence had?
One of the things I had to do, you know, in understanding this topic is to include myself experientially, all right? And sometimes we as counselors play a game called let's pretend I've never experienced any of this, all right? But I have, okay? I know what it's like to grieve. I know what it's like to be rejected, to be abandoned, to be betrayed. I know what it's like. And I think counselors need to bring a lot of their experiences into the therapy. And I think in doing so, they would connect better with the client, okay? But to just know certain things. We know people who haven't had their fathers, all right? But when we see certain topics, all of a sudden we become ignorant, all right? It's a funny thing that happens when they put you in student mode. You follow? Sometimes when they put you in student mode, they put you in stupid mode. You follow? Okay, because I'm a student, I'm just simply here to be taught. But there's some things I know. Bring your knowledge into the therapeutic relationship. Okay? All right, gang, they just gave me the sign, the wrap-up sign. So thank you. I see some of y'all.